Buckle up, everybody, because this deep dive is going to be a wild one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
We're talking about Deciem, the beauty company.
Okay.
You know them for the ordinary skincare.
Right.
But this is not your typical business success story. This is way more than that.
It is. It's got it all. It's really innovative ideas,
Yeah.
a fascinating company culture, and unfortunately some tragedy mixed in.
Yeah, and to really get into this story, we're turning to an interview with Nicola Kilner.
Okay.
She is the co-founder and CEO of Deciem, and we found this interview on the YouTube channel, The Diary of a CEO.
Nice.
And it is incredibly candid. I mean, she really gets into it, which is
That's what we want.
exactly what we want. And we're going to hear straight from someone who was there basically from day one.
Yeah.
You know, starting with her early days,
Right.
her ambitions, and her time at Boots, the UK pharmacy chain. I mean,
Yeah, that's interesting.
it really is.
You can see how those experiences working in a corporate setting
Totally.
shaped her path to becoming an entrepreneur. I mean,
Yeah.
she was already thinking about financial freedom way back then.
Way back then. And then she meets Brandon Truax,
Okay.
the visionary behind Deciem. And I love this little tidbit, the name Deciem. It comes from the Latin word for 10.
Uh-huh.
Because get this, their original plan was to run 10 brands at the same time.
Wow.
So ambitious.
That is ambitious.
Right from the start. And their approach to business was also anything but ordinary.
Yeah.
They had this philosophy, focus is overrated, which,
I like that.
right, sounds a little counterintuitive, but
Yeah.
they actually found it really beneficial to run multiple brands under the Deciem umbrella.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of the opposite of what you normally hear.
Exactly. Like, what was the thinking behind that more is better approach?
Well, they wanted to create this completely self-sufficient business ecosystem.
Hmm.
So Deciem handled everything in-house, the manufacturing, the marketing, all of it, so they weren't reliant on outside partners. Yeah, and they could maintain tighter control over their brands, but the real genius of it was the shared resources,
Okay.
right? So instead of having like 10 separate companies all duplicating their efforts, they streamlined things.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Keep costs down.
exactly. And it
Sure.
allowed them to experiment more freely.
So it's like having a venture capital model built right into their company.
Totally. Yeah, you got it. And because they could afford to take risks and fail quickly, they attracted all this young talent
I bet.
right out of college who were excited to be part of something so different.
It sounds like a playground for ideas.
It does, but I'm guessing this multi-brand strategy wasn't without its challenges.
Of course not. There's got to be a downside.
There is. The biggest one was the unexpected success of The Ordinary.
Oh.
It just completely overshadowed all their other brands, and it became this global phenomenon.
Makes sense. I mean, it's hard to keep
Yeah.
everything else going when one thing is like a rocket ship.
Totally. Nicola admits it was really difficult to balance resources when one brand just took off like that while others needed more attention.
So like having a star athlete on a team. You want to focus on them, but you still got to...
You got to build up the rest of the team.
Exactly. So how'd they navigate that within Deciem?
It was a constant balancing act. They had to figure out how to allocate resources effectively,
Right.
without starving their other brands.
Makes sense.
But even with those challenges, their multi-brand approach ultimately helped them build a really strong foundation for success.
Speaking of foundations,
Yeah.
let's talk about the dynamic duo behind Deciem, Nicola, and Brandon.
Okay.
They were co-CEOs, and it's just so fascinating.
Yeah.
They had such contrasting personalities,
They did.
but it seemed like their skills really complemented each other perfectly.
Yeah, that balance was crucial. Nicola describes herself as the calm and collected one,
Right.
making sure everything was running smoothly.
Keeping it all together.
Exactly. And then Brandon, he was more the visionary, the mad scientist obsessed with the science behind the products.
I love that.
Yeah, he could be eccentric and even hot-headed at times, which,
Oh, I bet.
yeah, it made for an interesting dynamic.
For sure. And there's something else that really stands out about Brandon. This intense desire to create a family atmosphere at Deciem.
Yeah,
It sounds like he wanted to build something
he did.
that went beyond a typical company culture.
It's clear that his upbringing played a big role in shaping his vision for Deciem. He had a troubled past
Yeah.
and carried the scars of broken relationships from previous business ventures. So Deciem was his chance to do things differently, to build a community where people felt a sense of belonging and loyalty that went beyond, the typical employer-employee relationship.
And it sounds like he succeeded maybe even a little too well.
Yeah.
because Nicola actually uses the word cult-like to describe
Yeah.
the intensity of the early culture.
Yeah, it was a double-edged sword.
Oh, I bet.
On one hand, it fostered this incredible dedication and shared sense of purpose.
Sure.
People genuinely loved working there and felt deeply connected to the mission. But on the other hand, there were definitely some blurred lines between work and personal life.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like no separation.
Not really. They worked long hours. They socialized together constantly. They even went on company trips to theme parks.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like the whole company
Yeah.
to a theme park.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was a unique environment for sure, one that both Nicola and Brandon actively cultivated.
I love it.
But as they grew, Nicola started to recognize the need for a more sustainable approach.
Yeah. I mean, that level of intensity,
He can't keep that up forever.
people burn out.
Exactly. She started emphasizing mental health and well-being, encouraging people to take breaks and set boundaries.
Good for her.
Yeah, it was a shift towards a more balanced company culture, recognizing that people need space to thrive outside of work.
It's like a much-needed evolution, even if it meant moving away from that initial family dynamic.
It was a delicate balance, but one that Nicola felt was necessary for the long-term health of the company and its employees.
Yeah.
It really marked a significant shift in their thinking, acknowledging the importance of a sustainable work environment.
And speaking of shifts, let's move on to the brand that really catapulted Deciem into the spotlight. The Ordinary.
Oh.
It was such a simple but revolutionary concept,
Right.
bringing pharmaceutical-grade transparency to skincare.
Yeah, they basically ripped the curtain back on the beauty industry. Instead of fancy packaging and all that marketing jargon, they focused on high-quality ingredients at affordable prices.
That's great,
Yeah, and they really challenged that notion that expensive equals better.
which a lot of people think,
Oh, yeah, and it resonated with so many people.
of
It's
course.
so interesting that something so straightforward could disrupt an entire industry.
It's crazy, but it wasn't an easy road. I mean, they initially faced pushback from major retailers, right?
Yeah, can you believe it? These retailers were actually telling them to make their products less appealing.
Yeah.
They thought the minimalist white packaging was too confusing. And they wanted them to come up with like catchy names like anti-aging serum.
Really?
Yeah,
So they were like, tone down your marketing.
basically. But thankfully, their multi-brand structure gave them the financial cushion to just say no. They trusted their gut and launched The Ordinary independently.
I love that.
And the rest is history.
And what a history it was.
Yeah.
The Ordinary became an absolute sensation, selling out constantly.
It did.
I mean, at one point, they were producing 400,000 units per day
per day.
to keep up with demand.
That's insane.
It's insane. It's a level of growth that most companies only dream of.
Yeah, they tapped into something that people were really craving, that transparency, efficacy, and affordability.
And it didn't hurt that they were getting a ton of attention online.
Oh, yeah. They became like a social media darling.
Of course.
Yeah.
All of this success, it caught the eye of some big players,
Yeah.
including Estee Lauder.
Right.
They ended up investing in Deciem, taking a 29% stake in the company.
Yeah, that investment speaks volumes about Deciem's potential.
Yeah.
I mean, Estee Lauder, they don't just throw money at any company.
Right.
They saw the value in Deciem's disruptive approach and their incredibly loyal customer base.
Makes sense.
It was a strategic move that instantly boosted Deciem's credibility
Of course.
and gave them access to even more resources.
And their valuation skyrocketed.
Oh, absolutely. They went from a $160 million valuation to a staggering $2.2 billion.
Wow.
In just a few years, it was a meteoric rise,
Jeez.
fueled by the success of The Ordinary and that validation from a major industry player.
But as we know, this story takes a turn just as The Ordinary is hitting its peak. Brandon's behavior starts to shift dramatically.
Yeah.
He began experimenting with psychedelics.
Uh-huh.
And according to Nicola, it had a profound impact on him.
Yeah, it was a sudden and unsettling change. You know, the Brandon everyone knew, the passionate, energetic leader. He was kind of replaced by someone who is almost unrecognizable.
Oh, wow.
Nicola describes his personality as completely different, almost like he'd become a stranger.
That's scary.
It is. And it wasn't just, personal quirks. These changes started to affect his decision-making and his interactions with people.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he became increasingly erratic, rejecting things like scheduling meetings,
What?
believing that people should just be there when they're supposed to be there.
Oh, my gosh.
It was really unsettling for everyone around him, especially Nicola.
I mean, imagine the confusion and worry she must have felt seeing someone she cared about, someone she built a company with.
Yeah.
to spiral like that?
It was a deeply troubling time for everyone at Deciem, and as Brandon's behavior became more unpredictable,
Right.
so did his actions within the company.
Oh.
Yeah, he started making these impulsive decisions like publicly firing employees on Instagram.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, and ending partnerships without warning. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Oh my gosh. And this whole situation was made even more poignant by another loss in Nicola's life.
Yes, her father's death.
Yeah.
He had struggled with alcoholism, which stemmed from personal challenges and eventually led to a rapid decline.
What's striking is how Nicola draws a parallel between her father's struggles
Right.
and what she was witnessing with Brandon.
Yeah.
It's like she was reliving that same feeling of helplessness,
Yeah.
of watching someone she loved succumb to forces beyond their control.
It's a heart-wrenching connection. Nicola had experienced this kind of loss before, and now she was watching it unfold again.
Oh, God.
But on a much larger scale, impacting not just her family, but the entire Deciem community.
And this time it was playing out in a very public way.
Exactly. Brandon's erratic behavior was all over social media,
Wow.
creating this chaotic and confusing situation for customers, employees, and investors alike.
It's almost unimaginable dealing with that level of personal turmoil
Yeah.
while also trying to steer a company through such a storm.
Yeah.
So what did Nicola do?
She found herself in this incredibly difficult position on a personal level. She was deeply concerned for Brandon's well-being,
Of course.
but as CEO, she also had a responsibility to protect the company and its employees.
So it was this constant balancing act between loyalty to Brandon and her duty to Deciem.
Exactly. And as things escalated, the shareholders were forced to make some tough decisions.
Yeah.
In 2018, Brandon was officially removed from the company.
Wow.
It was a move that was necessary, but undoubtedly painful for everyone involved.
I can only imagine the weight of that decision, knowing that it was for the best,
Yeah.
but still having to remove someone you care about from the company they built.
It was a heartbreaking situation, and the public scrutiny surrounding it only added to the pressure.
I bet.
And through it all, Nicola was dealing with her own personal grief over her father's passing
Yeah.
and preparing to become a mother.
It's hard to fathom the strength it took to navigate all of that.
It really is.
So what happened to Deciem after Brandon's removal?
Well, Nicola stepped back into the role of CEO, 7 months pregnant at the time.
Wow.
And her first order of business was to restore stability. So she immediately reassembled the original team, bringing back those who had been pushed out during Brandon's turbulent reign.
It's like a really powerful message, a way of saying we're going back to our roots, to the values that made Deciem successful in the first place.
Exactly. It was a signal to everyone that they were moving forward, but not forgetting the lessons of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And while she was rebuilding the company, Nicola was also facing that very public scrutiny
Yeah.
that followed Brandon's removal.
I can't even imagine dealing with that level of attention while also adjusting to motherhood.
It was an incredibly challenging time, both personally and professionally, but Nicola's resilience is truly remarkable. She focused on the positive, on rebuilding Deciem with kindness and purpose, and she never lost sight of the human element in all of this.
And then, as if things weren't already difficult enough, came the news of Brandon's death.
It was devastating.
He was found alone, having fallen from his high-floor apartment balcony.
It was a devastating blow for everyone who knew him, especially Nicola.
Of course.
She was still grappling with the complexities of their relationship,
Right.
the love and the pain that had become so intertwined, and now she was faced with this ultimate loss.
It's hard to imagine the range of emotions she must have been going through. So, how did she cope with such a profound loss while also leading a company?
She admits that she hasn't fully processed everything that happened. Her coping mechanism has been to stay busy, to focus on the positive aspects of her life,
Right.
like her work and her newborn child. But she acknowledges that there will come a time when she needs to take a step back
Right.
and truly process the trauma of that period.
It's a reminder that everyone grieves differently.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way to cope with loss. And sometimes the best you can do is keep moving forward one step at a time.
Absolutely. And Nicola's story highlights the importance of self-care, especially for leaders who often carry the weight of so many responsibilities. It's okay to acknowledge your own needs and seek support when you need it.
It's interesting to think about the trajectory of Deciem during this tumultuous period,
Yeah.
because on one hand, you have this internal chaos,
Right.
this very public breakdown.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the demand for their products, particularly the ordinary, actually skyrocketed.
It's a strange paradox.
It is.
It seems counterintuitive that a company going through such turmoil
Right.
would experience such massive growth,
Yeah.
but I think it speaks to the power of the brand they built and the loyalty of their customer base.
So people were drawn to the drama,
Yeah.
controversy.
To some extent, yes. I mean, the situation was all over social media,
Right.
and people were naturally curious.
Of course.
But it was more than just morbid curiosity. The core products,
Yeah.
particularly those from The Ordinary, they were already well-loved.
Right.
The quality was there, the prices were unbeatable, and people genuinely saw results.
So the drama might have brought new customers in, but the quality of the products kept them coming back.
Exactly. It's a testament to the strength of their foundation. Even in the midst of this very public storm, the core of Deciem remained strong.
Mm.
Their commitment to quality, affordability, and transparency, it resonated with people regardless of the headline.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if the success of The Ordinary, the pressure to keep up with that incredible demand, if it played a role in Brandon's downward spiral.
It's possible.
That's a lot for anyone to handle.
It is.
Especially someone already struggling with personal demons.
It's a question that lingers. Can success truly be achieved without personal sacrifice?
Right.
And if so, at what cost?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's definitely something to ponder, especially in a world that often glorifies relentless ambition and achievement.
It is. It's a reminder that there are real people behind these success stories, people with their own vulnerabilities and struggles, and sometimes the price of success can be incredibly high.
It's inspiring, though, to see how Nicola navigated this whole ordeal. Despite the immense pressure and personal loss, she never lost sight of the values that were important to her, especially kindness and compassion.
That's a crucial takeaway for any leader. It's easy to let ambition and pressure compromise your values.
Yeah.
But Nicola demonstrated that you can be both successful and kind. You can lead with empathy and still achieve remarkable things.
And her team clearly admires her for that. They describe her as a ray of sunshine,
I love that.
highlighting her self-awareness, her willingness to delegate, and her genuine care for the people around her.
It's a testament to her leadership style. You know, she's created this culture of belonging where people feel valued and respected. Even after everything they've been through, that sense of community is a core part of Deciem's identity, and it's a big part of what makes them so successful.
It's interesting that even after successfully leading Deciem through this tumultuous period, Nicola still describes herself as the least qualified CEO ever.
Oh, I love that. I find that incredibly humble. She's very aware of her strengths and weaknesses, and she's not afraid to bring in people who have expertise in areas where she may be lacking.
That self-awareness is so important.
It is.
It's easy to let ego get in the way, especially when you're at the helm of a successful company.
Right, but Nicola embraces collaboration. She compares herself to the conductor of an orchestra,
Oh, I like that.
understanding that her role is to bring together these talented individuals and guide them towards a shared vision.
So where does Deciem stand today? How has the company evolved since those early chaotic days?
Well, as of this interview, Deciem has grown to almost 1,500 employees
Wow,
and boasts 32 of its own stores worldwide.
that's incredible.
They've truly become a global phenomenon.
Right.
And here's the amazing part. The majority of their products are still under $10.
It's incredible that they've managed to maintain that commitment to affordability while achieving such massive growth. They're truly making high-quality skincare accessible to a much wider audience.
Exactly. And they've expanded their focus beyond just products. They've become advocates for sustainability and social impact, recognizing that they have a platform and a responsibility to use it for good.
It's clear that Nicola is leading Deciem with a strong sense of purpose, building on the foundation that she and Brandon created.
Yeah.
But it's not just about growth.
Right.
It's about making a positive impact on the world.
And that's what's so inspiring about her story. She's not just focused on the bottom line. She's thinking about the bigger picture, about how Deciem can contribute to a better future.
After everything she's been through, I'm curious to know what advice she would give to her younger self.
Yeah.
The Nicola who is just starting out on this incredible journey with Brandon.
Well, she emphasizes 3 key things: staying calm, finding the positive in every situation, and having unwavering belief in the end goal.
Those are powerful words to live by,
They are.
especially in the face of adversity.
And they perfectly reflect Nicola's own approach to leadership. You know, her ability to remain grounded and focused, even during the most challenging times, is truly remarkable.
It's a reminder that resilience and positivity are essential qualities for any leader.
Absolutely. And those are qualities we can all cultivate regardless of our industry or role.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From Nicola's early days at Boots, to the meteoric rise of the ordinary, to the tragic downfall of Brandon Truax, and the rebuilding of Deciem.
Wow.
It's been a wild ride.
It really has. This deep dive has been a whirlwind of business acumen, personal tragedy, and the enduring power of human connection.
We've seen the highs and lows of entrepreneurship, the importance of building a strong team, and the impact that one person's vision can have on the world.
But for me, what stands out is Nicola's resilience.
Yes,
Her unwavering commitment to leading with kindness and her ability to find meaning and purpose, even in the face of unimaginable loss.
absolutely. Her story is a testament to the power of the human spirit and leaves us with some profound questions to ponder.
It does. How can we apply the lessons of prioritizing people, embracing unconventional thinking, and leading with compassion in our own pursuits?
How can we balance ambition with well-being, recognizing the human cost of success?
And perhaps most importantly, how can we foster a sense of belonging and community in our own lives and workplaces,
Yeah.
creating environments where people feel valued and supported? And this time it was all happening so publicly. Brandon's behavior was all over social media.
Oh, gosh.
It was this chaotic and confusing situation for customers and employees and investors.
Yeah, it's almost unimaginable dealing with that level of personal turmoil,
Yeah,
but also like having to steer a company through a storm like that.
it was tough.
So what did Nicola do?
Well, she was in a really tough spot. On a personal level, she was super worried about Brandon. But as the CEO, she also had to protect the company and all the employees.
Right, so this constant back and forth.
Yeah, between her loyalty to Brandon and her duty to Deciem.
And eventually something had to give, right?
Yeah, as things escalated, the shareholders had to step in and make some tough choices.
I bet.
So in 2018, Brandon was officially removed from the company.
Wow.
It was definitely the right move, but it had to have been painful for everyone.
I can only imagine having to remove someone you care about
Yeah,
from the company they built.
heartbreaking, and, the public scrutiny that followed.
Oh, yeah.
That just added to the pressure.
For sure. And through it all, Nicola was dealing with her own grief over her father and preparing to become a mother.
Right.
I mean, honestly, it's hard to fathom the strength it took to deal with all that.
It really is.
So what happened to Deciem after Brandon was removed?
Well, Nicola stepped back in as CEO 7 months pregnant at the time.
Wow.
And the first thing she did was try to restore stability.
Make us.
She brought back the original team,
Oh, wow.
the people who had been pushed out during that turbulent time with Brandon.
So almost like a return to their roots.
Exactly. A signal that they were moving forward, but not forgetting those early lessons.
And while she was rebuilding the company, she was also dealing with all that public scrutiny,
Oh, yeah, it was a lot to handle.
adjusting to motherhood, a company in crisis.
It was a really challenging time for her, both personally and professionally. But Nicola's resilience is incredible.
I bet.
She just focused on the positive rebuilding Deciem with kindness and purpose,
That's great.
and she never lost sight of the human element in all of this.
And then on top of all that came the news of Brandon's death.
It's so sad.
He was found alone. He had fallen from his apartment balcony.
Devastating for everyone who knew him, especially Nicola.
Of course.
She was still dealing with the complexities of their relationship, all that love and pain, and now she was facing this ultimate loss.
How do you even process something like that while also leading a company?
It's a lot. She admits that she hasn't fully processed everything yet. She's been coping by staying busy, focusing on the positive things like her work and her baby.
Right.
But she knows that eventually she'll need to take a step back and really process the trauma of that whole period.
It's a good reminder that everyone grieves differently, and there's no right or wrong way to cope with loss.
Absolutely. Sometimes the best you can do is just keep moving forward one step at a time.
And I think Nicola's story really highlights the importance of self-care,
Yeah,
especially for leaders who carry so much responsibility.
right. It's okay to acknowledge your own needs and ask for help when you need it.
It's interesting to think about how Deciem was doing during this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Because on one hand, there was this internal chaos,
Right.
very public breakdown.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, demand for their products, especially the ordinary, was skyrocketing.
It is a weird paradox.
It is.
You wouldn't think a company going through something like that would see so much growth.
Right.
But it really shows you the power of their brand and how loyal their customers were.
So do you think people were drawn to the drama, the controversy around Brandon and Deciem?
I think some people were, for sure. I mean, it was all over social media. People were curious.
Mm.
But it wasn't just that. The products themselves, especially the ordinary, they were already so popular.
Yeah.
The quality was there. The prices were great. People were seeing real results.
So maybe the drama brought in new customers,
Yeah.
but it was the quality of the products that made them stay.
Exactly. It's a testament to the strength of their foundation. Even during this very public storm, the core of Deciem remained strong. That commitment to quality, affordability, and transparency,
Yeah.
people really responded to that.
It makes you wonder if the success of the ordinary, the pressure to keep up with all that demand, played a role in Brandon's downward spiral.
It's possible it's a lot to handle.
It is, especially for someone who was already struggling.
Right. It's a question that stays with you. Can you really achieve success without some kind of personal sacrifice?
Right.
And if so, what cost?
That's a big question with no easy answers. But it's something to think about,
It is.
especially in a world that's always telling us to strive for more.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that behind every success story, there are real people. People who are vulnerable and have struggles. And sometimes the price of that success can be really high.
It's inspiring to see how Nicola dealt with all of this.
Yeah.
Despite the pressure and the loss, she never lost sight of those values that were so important to her.
Right.
Kindness, compassion.
That's so crucial for any leader.
Yeah.
It's easy to let ambition and pressure make you forget your values.
Totally.
But Nicola showed us that you can be successful and kind. You can lead with empathy and still achieve great things.
And her team really respects her for that.
They do. They describe her as a ray of sunshine.
I love that.
They talk about her self-awareness, her willingness to delegate, and how much she cares for everyone around her.
That's fantastic. And, you know, it's interesting because even after successfully guiding Deciem through this turbulent period, Nicola still calls herself the least qualified CEO ever.
It's so humble. She knows her strengths and weaknesses, and she's not afraid to bring in people who have expertise in areas where she doesn't.
That self-awareness is so important.
It's
It's easy to let ego get in the way when you're running a successful company.
true. But Nicola really embraces collaboration. She compares herself to the conductor of an orchestra.
Mm.
Her job is to bring together all these talented people and guide them towards a shared vision.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So where does Deciem stand today? How has the company evolved since those early chaotic days?
Well, at the time of this interview, Deciem had almost 1,500 employees
Wow.
and 32 of its own stores all over the world.
Amazing.
They've become a global phenomenon. And here's the best part. Most of their products are still under $10.
That's incredible.
Uh,
They've managed to stay affordable while still growing so much.
yeah, they're making high-quality skincare accessible to a much wider audience.
And they're not just focused on products anymore, right?
Right. They're also advocating for sustainability and social impact.
That's great.
They know they have a platform and they're using it for good.
It's clear that Nicola is leading Deciem with a strong sense of purpose, building on what she and Brandon started. But it's not just about growth. It's about making a real difference.
And that's what makes her story so inspiring. She's not just thinking about the bottom line, but about how Deciem can contribute to a better future.
So after everything she's been through, what advice would she give to her younger self?
She talks about 3 key things: staying calm, finding the positive in every situation, and believing in the end goal.
That's powerful stuff.
It is, and it reflects her leadership style perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Even during tough times, she stays grounded and focused.
It reminds us that resilience and positivity are so important.
Yes, and those are qualities we can all work on.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here, from Nicola's early days at Boots to the crazy success of The Ordinary to Brandon's tragic downfall and Deciem rebuilding itself.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. This deep dive has been a mix of business savvy, personal tragedy, and the power of human connection.
We've seen the highs and lows of building a business, the importance of teamwork, and how one person's vision can really impact the world.
But for me, what really stands out is Nicola's resilience.
Yeah.
Her commitment to leading with kindness and finding meaning, even when facing unimaginable loss.
Her story is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, and it leaves us with some deep questions to think about.
It does. How can we take what we've learned about prioritizing, people embracing unconventional ideas and leading with compassion, and apply it to our own lives?
How to balance ambition and well-being?
Right.
And how do we create communities in our work and personal lives where everyone feels valued and supported?
Yeah, it really gets you thinking. And for me, what makes this whole story so powerful is that it's not just about business.
Right.
It's about human connection and resilience and the choices we make when things get really tough.
Exactly. It's a human story at its core, you know,
Yeah.
about relationships and sacrifice and legacy.
And that question about success and sacrifice, it just keeps coming back.
Yeah, can you really have one without the other? And if so, what's the price you pay?
It's like that age-old dilemma we're always told to climb the ladder, reach the top.
Right, strive for more.
But we rarely stop to think about what we might be giving up along the way.
It makes you think about what success really means.
Yeah.
Is it all about money and hitting those milestones?
Right.
Or is there more to it, like well-being and purpose and real connection?
And maybe there's no one right answer.
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone.
What feels like success to one person might feel empty to someone else.
Right, you got to find that balance between what you're striving for and taking care of yourself and your relationships.
And remembering that success isn't this straight line.
Totally. There's going to be bumps in the road, challenges, detours.
Exactly. And it's how you handle those obstacles and how you treat people during those times that really matters.
That defines who you are.
It's a good reminder that success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about how you achieve it.
Yeah, your values, the impact you have on the world.
So for anyone listening who might be feeling lost or overwhelmed right now, what advice would you give them based on what we've learned from Nicola?
Well, first of all, remember that you're not alone. Everyone faces challenges, even those people who seem like they have it all figured out.
Totally.
It's okay to ask for help, to lean on people when you need it.
Yeah, don't forget to take care of yourself.
Right. Your physical and mental health are so important.
Especially when you're going through tough times.
And celebrate those small wins along the way. Success isn't just about the end goal.
Yeah.
It's about finding joy in the journey.
I love that Nicola's story really shows us that even when things are chaotic and uncertain, there's always hope.
Right.
You can always find meaning and purpose and connection.
And in the end, that's what really matters.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks.
This deep dive has been a roller coaster of emotions.
It has.
From the excitement of Deciem's innovative approach
Yeah.
to the heartbreak of Brandon's downfall.
Yeah, and Nicola's strength through it all.
But it's ultimately a story of resilience and hope and the power of human connection.
Right.
And I hope that's what our listeners take away from this conversation.
Me too.
A reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can find our way back to the things that truly matter.
Yeah.
The people we love, the values we hold dear, and the purpose that drives us forward.
That's it.
So thank you all for joining us on this incredible journey. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
Bye, everyone.